I know what it looks like. A military wife posting bikini shots and club pics while her husband's dodging bullets overseas. Everyone's calling me trash, saying I disrespected a soldier, that I deserve everything I got. And yeah, I did post those pictures. But nobody's asking why I felt invisible in my own marriage before Marcus even left for deployment. What's eating me alive isn't just the divorce papers or the screenshots my mother-in-law forwarded to half the base. It's that I'm starting to think maybe I wanted to get caught. Maybe I needed proof that Marcus still cared enough to notice me, even if it meant destroying us both. People think they understand what happened, but they're missing the part where I became a ghost in my own home months before any photo went online. I'm going to lay out exactly what I did and why I kept going even when I knew it was wrong. There's something I haven't told anyone yet, something that makes all of this so much worse than the Instagram posts. By the end, you'll know everything, including what I was really doing the night before Marcus deployed. Marcus and I met when I was 22, working double shifts at a diner near Fort Bragg. He came in with his unit after a training exercise, all swagger and uniform, but he actually looked me in the eye when he ordered. Not at my chest, not through me like most customers, at me. We talked for maybe 3 minutes, but I felt seen in a way I'd never experienced. My whole life I'd been the chubby girl the one guys talked to when they wanted homework help or a shoulder to cry on about the girl they actually wanted. Marcus changed that. He asked for my number before he left, texted me that same night. Within 6 months, we were married at the courthouse with 2 of his army buddies as witnesses. Everyone said we moved too fast, but when you've spent your whole life feeling like a backup option, and someone finally makes you feel first string, you don't overthink it. You say yes before they change their mind. The first year was good. Great even. Marcus introduced me as my wife with this pride in his voice that made my chest tight. He'd grab my hand in public, kiss me in the commissary, post pictures of us with captions about how lucky he was. I started working out, lost 30 pounds, learned to do my makeup the way those Instagram girls did it. I wanted to be worthy of how he saw me. But somewhere in year 2 things shifted. Little things at first, he'd scroll through his phone during dinner, stop initiating sex as often, forget things I'd told him about my day. I'd try on a new dress and he'd glance up with a distracted "looks nice, babe," before returning to whatever game he was playing. The compliments dried up. The public affection faded. I felt myself becoming furniture again, just part of the background of his life. I brought it up once carefully, saying I missed when we used to really talk. He said I was being dramatic, that this was just what marriage was like once the honeymoon phase ended, that grown-ups didn't need constant validation. I felt stupid for wanting more, like I was being needy and childish. So I stopped mentioning it. When Marcus got his deployment orders, 9 months in the Middle East, I cried. He held me and promised he'd call whenever he could, that the time would fly by, that we'd reconnect when he got back. I believed him. I thought maybe the distance would remind him what we had, make him miss me the way I already missed feeling important to him. The first month after he left, I tried so hard to be the perfect military wife. I sent care packages every week, wrote long emails about my day even though his responses were usually just a few sentences. I joined a support group for military spouses, attended the unit's family events, posted supportive messages on social media about being proud of my soldier. I did everything right, but Marcus's calls became less frequent. When we did talk, he sounded tired and distant, asking about practical stuff like whether I'd paid the car insurance, had I forwarded him that document, was the landlord fixing the water heater. Never how I was feeling. Never that he missed me. I tried to tell him about my week, how I'd started taking a photography class, made a new friend at work, and I could hear him getting distracted, saying in that tone that meant he wasn't really listening. 2 months in, I stopped hearing from him for 11 days straight. No calls, no emails, barely any texts. I knew objectively that he was probably on some mission without communication access, but emotionally I felt erased. I'd see other military wives posting about their video calls with their deployed husbands, sharing screenshots of sweet messages, and I had nothing. Radio silence. When Marcus finally called, I was so relieved I started crying. He got frustrated, said I should know better than to worry, that this was part of the job. He didn't apologize for not being able to send even a quick "I'm okay" message. He didn't seem to understand why I was upset. The call lasted 8 minutes before he said he had to go. That's when I made the first bad decision, the one I told myself was harmless. I've been working out consistently since Marcus left, partly to stay busy, partly because I thought if I looked good enough when he came home, maybe he'd notice me again. I'd actually gotten into the best shape of my life. One night after a particularly brutal gym session, I took a mirror selfie in my sports bra and leggings. Nothing too crazy, just showing off the progress I'd made. I posted it on Instagram with some caption about fitness goals and staying strong while my husband served. The response was immediate and intoxicating. Within an hour, I had over 100 likes, more engagement than I'd gotten on anything in months. Comments poured and looking amazing. Your husband is a lucky man. Body goals. 3 different guys from high school who'd never given me a second glance slid into my DMs with fire emojis and compliments. I told myself it was innocent. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Lots of women posted gym selfies. But here's what I'm not proud of. I spent that whole evening refreshing the post, watching the like count climb, reading and rereading the comments. For the first time in months, I felt visible again. Desirable, like I mattered to someone, even if that someone was just strangers on the internet. Marcus didn't call that week, but 63 people liked my photo. You see where this is going. The second photo came a week later, me in a sundress at a brewery with some friends from work. The dress was short, I'd spent an hour on my hair and makeup, and the lighting was perfect. I looked happy and pretty and fun. I posted it with a caption about enjoying life and not putting things on hold. More likes, more comments, more DMs. One guy from the support group, another military spouse, actually a guy whose wife was deployed, commented that I looked beautiful and we should grab coffee sometime since we both understood what the other was going through. I didn't respond to that one, but I didn't delete it either. I like seeing it there, proof that someone wanted to spend time with me. Here's where I started lying to myself. I convinced myself this wasn't about Marcus. I was just living my life, posting on social media like everyone else. If he had a problem with it, he could call more often, pay more attention, act like he cared whether I existed. I wasn't responsible for his insecurities. I was allowed to feel confident and share that confidence. But I knew exactly what I was doing. Every post was carefully curated. I'd take 30 versions of the same photo to find the one where I looked the sexiest. I'd workshop captions to sound carefree and independent. I'd post at times when I knew engagement would be highest. This wasn't casual social media use. This was a campaign. The third photo, the one that really started everything, was me in a black bikini at a friend's pool party. I'd bought the bikini specifically for this. 2 pieces, high-cut bottoms, push-up top. I looked good. I knew I looked good. I posted 4 pictures, one of me by the pool, one in the water, one laughing with a drink, one from behind showing the view. The caption was what crossed the line, though I pretended I didn't know it at the time. Summer state of mind. Life's too short to wait for someone else to make you happy. Within 2 hours, the post had over 200 likes. My DMs exploded. Guy from the support group messaged again, more forward this time. Damn, Marcus is an idiot for leaving you alone looking like that. I should have shut it down. Instead, I responded with a laughing emoji. My friend Kayla, who was at the party, pulled me aside. Girl, are you sure you want to post stuff like that while Marcus is deployed? You know people talk. I'm not doing anything wrong, I said. I'm literally just existing in a bathing suit at a pool. Am I supposed to hide in my house for 9 months? She gave me this look like she wanted to say more but didn't. Just be careful, you know how the base gossip is. I brushed her off, but her concern made me defensive because part of me knew she was right. I wasn't just posting bikini pics. I was performing. I was testing something, maybe testing if Marcus would care, if anyone would tell him, if he'd finally react with something other than distraction and disinterest. That night, I went out with some friends to a club downtown. I wore a tight dress, drank too much, danced until I was sweaty and laughing. Someone took a video of me dancing, posted it to their story, tagged me. I reposted it to my own story. In the video, you could see some random guy dancing behind me, not touching me but close enough that it looked like we were together. I woke up the next morning to 7 missed calls from Marcus's mom. I didn't call her back right away. I knew what it would be about. Instead, I went through my social media, seeing my life through her eyes. The gym selfies, the sundress photos, the bikini pictures, the club video. Individually, each post was defensible. Together, they painted a picture of a woman who definitely didn't seem like she was missing her deployed husband very much. When I finally called Marcus's mom back, she didn't even say hello. What the hell are you doing, Jenna? Do you have any idea how this looks? Marcus is over there serving his country and you're posting half-naked pictures and partying at clubs. I'm not doing anything wrong, I said, the same defense I'd given Kayla. I'm just living my life. I can't put everything on hold for 9 months. You're embarrassing him, you're embarrassing yourself. People are talking, the other wives are asking me what's wrong with you. Tell them to mind their own business, I snapped. I'm not property, I'm allowed to have a life. She was quiet for a moment, then said something that hit harder than the anger. He doesn't deserve this. Whatever you're angry about, he doesn't deserve to be humiliated while he's deployed. I hung up on her, told myself she was controlling and outdated, that her generation expected women to be perfect patient Penelopes while their men were off at war, that I was a modern woman who refused to shrink herself. But my hands were shaking when I put the phone down. Here's what I haven't told anyone. I wanted Marcus to see the posts. I wanted him to get angry, to call me and demand to know what I was doing, to care enough to be jealous. I wanted proof that I still mattered to him, even if that proof came in the form of a fight. Anger would have been better than indifference. A jealous call would have meant he was paying attention. The silence after his mom called was deafening. I checked my phone constantly, waiting for Marcus to reach out. 3 days passed, then 4. Still nothing. Either she hadn't told him, or he'd seen everything and didn't care enough to respond. That hurt worse than anything. I'd basically thrown up a flare, been as obvious as possible short of actually cheating, and he couldn't even be bothered to react. So I escalated. I started going out more, always making sure someone documented it. Posted stories from bars, from parties, from late dinners with mixed groups that always included at least one decent-looking guy in the frame. I never did anything actually wrong, never kissed anyone, never even flirted that seriously in person, but the optics were terrible and I knew it. The DMs got more aggressive. Guys who could see I was married to a deployed soldier sent messages anyway if you ever need company. Your husband's crazy for leaving you alone looking like that. I'd never let my girl post like this, but I'm not complaining about the view. I should have blocked them. Instead, I left them on read, letting them accumulate like trophies. The guy from the support group, his name was Tyler, asked me out for coffee 3 more times. On the 4th time I said yes. I told myself it was innocent. We were both lonely, both dealing with deployed spouses, both needed someone who understood. We met at a Starbucks on a Tuesday afternoon. Talked for 2 hours about how hard it was, how disconnected we felt, how our spouses seemed like strangers when they called. He got it in a way nobody else did. When we left, he hugged me, just a hug, nothing inappropriate, but I leaned into it a second too long and I felt something I hadn't felt in months, wanted. Same time next week, he asked. Sure, I said. We started meeting weekly. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into dinner. We never did anything physical beyond those hugs, but emotionally I was absolutely cheating. I told Tyler things I didn't tell Marcus. I looked forward to our meetings more than Marcus's calls. I started dressing up for Tyler, doing my makeup, wanting him to find me attractive. And I posted pictures from some of our hangouts. Never tagged Tyler, never mentioned him specifically, but the evidence was there for anyone paying attention. Me at restaurants, looking happy and dressed up, with the edge of a male figure cropped out of frame. Marcus finally called after one of those posts. It had been 3 weeks since we'd last spoken. My heart hammered when I saw his name on the screen. Hey, I answered, trying to sound normal. My mom's been calling me, he said. No, I miss you. No, how are you? She says you're posting a bunch of stuff that doesn't look good. There it was, not concern for me, not jealousy, just worry about appearances, about how it looked. I'm just posting pictures of my life, Marcus. That's kind of what people do on social media. She said you're at clubs and posting bikini pictures and going out with guys. I went to one pool party and I go out with friends sometimes. Mixed groups, I'm not doing anything wrong. Technically true, technically. Well, it looks wrong, people are talking, can you just tone it down until I get home? Tone it down, I repeated. That's what you're concerned about, not how I'm doing, not whether I'm okay being alone for 9 months, just whether I'm embarrassing you. Jesus, Jenna, don't start. I'm dealing with enough over here without you creating drama back home. I'm creating drama, you haven't called me in 3 weeks. I've been busy. There's a fucking war happening, I can't be on the phone with you every day. I'm not asking for every day, I'm asking for something more than 8-minute phone calls where you ask about the car insurance. He sighed, that same frustrated sound he made whenever I needed something from him. Can we not do this right now? I have to go in 10 minutes. Can you just promise me you'll cool it with the social media stuff, please? I should have said no, should have demanded we actually talk about what was wrong with us. Instead, I said, fine, whatever. Thank you, look, I gotta go, I'll call you soon, okay? He didn't call for another 16 days, I deleted nothing. In fact, I doubled down. If he couldn't be bothered to care about me, only about his reputation, then fuck it. I posted a photo from a girl's night out in a low-cut top with the caption unbothered, moisturized, happy, in my lane, flourishing. Classic passive-aggressive divorced girl energy, except I wasn't divorced yet. Tyler and I started texting daily. Good morning messages, memes, long conversations about our feelings. His wife was due back from deployment in 2 months, and there was this unspoken understanding that whatever this was had an expiration date. That made it feel safer somehow, like we were just keeping each other company in a hard season, nothing serious. But I was falling for him. Or at least I was falling for how he made me feel, important, interesting, desired. He asked questions about my photography class, remembered details about my life, noticed when I changed my hair. All the things Marcus used to do and had stopped. One night after too much wine, Tyler and I were texting and the conversation turned flirty. He said I looked beautiful in my latest post. I said he was sweet. He said his wife never dressed up anymore, that she'd let herself go during deployment. I said Marcus barely noticed when I did dress up. He's an idiot, Tyler texted. If you were mine, I'd never let you forget how gorgeous you are. I stared at that message for a full minute, my heart pounding. This was the line. I could shut it down right now, say something like, we're both married, let's keep this appropriate, and redirect back to safe territory. Instead, I sent, that's a dangerous thing to say. Maybe I'm feeling dangerous, he replied. We texted until 3 in the morning, dancing right up to the edge of explicit without crossing it. Talking about what we missed, what we needed, what we'd do if circumstances were different. It was the most alive I'd felt in months. The next morning, sick with guilt and hangover, I almost told Tyler we needed to stop talking. But then Marcus called, finally, and spent 7 minutes asking me to mail him some specific boots he'd forgotten and couldn't get on base, and didn't ask a single question about how I was doing. When I tried to tell him about the photography class exhibition I was participating in, he cut me off saying he had to go. I texted Tyler 5 minutes later, coffee this week. At this point, I need to tell you what I did the night before Marcus deployed. The thing that makes everything else so much worse. Marcus had a going-away party at his buddy's house, nothing big, just his unit and some family. I was expected to be there, playing the supportive wife, smiling for pictures, pretending everything was fine between us. We'd barely spoken that week except to coordinate logistics about bills and the apartment and what I'd need to handle while he was gone. At the party, I watched him laugh with his friends, animated and engaged in a way he never was with me anymore. He introduced me to a new guy in his unit as the wife, not even using my name. When I tried to join their conversation, he gave me these short, distracted responses before turning back to his friends. I felt invisible standing right next to him. I left the party early, told him I had a headache. He barely looked up when I said goodbye, just kissed my forehead and said he'd be home in a few hours. I drove home crying so hard I had to pull over twice. When I got to our apartment, I did something I'm not proud of. I poured a glass of wine, then another, then another. I opened Instagram and posted a photo from earlier that week, me in a black dress, full makeup, looking directly at the camera with this confident expression I definitely wasn't feeling. Caption was starting a new chapter, here's to finding myself again. I posted it the night before my husband deployed to a war zone. The comments rolled in, friends being supportive, thinking it was about finding strength during deployment. Guys being flirty, seeing an opening. Tyler commented, new chapters are always better when you write them yourself. You got this. I liked his comment, responded with a heart emoji. Marcus came home around midnight, a little drunk, in a good mood from the party. He climbed into bed and reached for me, initiating sex for the first time in weeks. And I let him, even though I just posted that caption, even though I just heart emojied another man's comment, even though I was already half checked out of our marriage. I didn't tell him about the post. Didn't mention that I was already building my exit route, already setting up my independent woman narrative for social media consumption. I let him hold me that night, knowing it might be the last time for 9 months, and I felt absolutely nothing. The next morning, I drove him to base. We sat in the car for 10 minutes before he had to report. He held my hand and told me he loved me, that he'd call as soon as he could, that these 9 months would fly by. I love you too, I said, and I don't know if it was true anymore. I watched him walk away in his uniform, watched him turn back and wave once before disappearing into the building. I cried in the car, not because I'd miss him exactly, but because I already knew our marriage was over and he had no idea. He was walking into deployment thinking everything was fine, and I'd already started posting thirst traps before he'd even left the country. That's the part I couldn't tell anyone, that I'd given up before he'd even gone. That every photo I posted afterward, every boundary I pushed, every coffee date with Tyler, it all started before Marcus even deployed. The timeline everyone knows makes me look bad enough. The real timeline makes me look monstrous. So when Tyler asked me to meet him for drinks instead of coffee 6 weeks into deployment, I said yes. When he suggested we go to a place one town over where we were less likely to run into anyone from the base, I agreed. When he put his hand on my lower back guiding me to our table and left it there a moment too long, I didn't step away. We had 3 drinks each. Talked about our failing marriages, our loneliness, our spouses who'd stopped seeing us as people. He said his wife had already asked for a divorce, that she'd met someone during her deployment. He was just waiting for her to get back to make it official. I think Marcus and I are done too, I said. First time I'd said it out loud. I don't know if he'll admit it, but we are. This deployment just made it obvious. Maybe it's for the best, Tyler said. Maybe we both deserve someone who actually gives a shit. He drove me back to my car, walked me to the driver's side door, stood too close. Thanks for tonight, I said. I really needed this. Me too. He was looking at my mouth. This was it, the moment. I could get in my car right now and this would still be salvageable, still just an emotional affair, still something I could maybe walk back from. Instead, I stood there, waiting. Tyler kissed me. I kissed him back. It lasted maybe 10 seconds before I pulled away, panic flooding through me. We can't do this. I know, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. No, I stopped. I have to go. I drove home shaking, pulled into my apartment complex and threw up in the parking lot. I just kissed another man while my husband was in a war zone. There was no rationalizing this, no justification. I'd crossed the line I swore I'd never cross. I blocked Tyler's number that night, deleted our entire message thread, removed him from all social media, tried to erase the evidence like that would erase what I'd done, but I didn't stop posting. If anything, I got worse. Because here's the truly fucked up part, kissing Tyler made me feel so guilty that I convinced myself if I was going to be guilty anyway, I might as well go all in. I'd already ruined my marriage, might as well get something out of it. Might as well lean into being the villain everyone thought I was. The photos got more provocative. The captions got more pointed. I went out 4 nights a week. Flirted with random guys at bars, never going home with them but letting them buy me drinks, dance with me, make me feel wanted. Posted pictures of all of it. Marcus's friends started unfollowing me. Then his family. Then my own family. I watched my follower count drop but my engagement on each post skyrocket. Controversy and scandal always perform well on social media. My phone rang constantly, Marcus's mom, my mom, friends trying to stage interventions. I ignored most of them. When I did answer, I gave the same defensive speech. I wasn't doing anything wrong, I was just living my life, everyone needed to mind their own business. Kayla finally cornered me at work 3 months into Marcus's deployment. Jenna, you need to stop, you're spiraling, this isn't you. How do you know who I am? Maybe this is me, maybe I've just been pretending to be someone else for years. You kissed Tyler, she said it flat, matter of fact. My stomach dropped. How did you? His wife's friend is stationed with my husband. Word gets around, did you really think nobody would find out? We're not, it was one time, I ended it, we don't even talk anymore. Does Marcus know? No, and you can't tell him, please Kayla, he's deployed, what's it going to accomplish except making him miserable over there? She stared at me for a long moment. You're not protecting him, you're protecting yourself, and honestly right now I'm not sure you deserve protection. She walked away and we haven't spoken since. I started having panic attacks, couldn't sleep, lost weight from stress and guilt. I'd lie awake at night composing the confession I'd give Marcus when he got home, trying to find words that would make it sound less awful. There were none. Tyler unblocked me and sent one message. My wife found out about the kiss. She's telling Marcus. I called Marcus immediately, desperate to tell him myself before someone else did, but he didn't answer. I left a rambling voicemail that basically amounted to, call me, it's important, someone's going to tell you something but I need to explain first. He didn't call back for 3 days. When he finally did, his voice was ice. Did you fuck him? What? No, Marcus, did you fuck Tyler? No, we kissed once, one time, and I immediately cut off contact. I haven't talked to him since, I swear. Silence. Then you kissed him. I'm sorry. I was so lonely and confused and you weren't. I stopped, realizing how that sounded. There's no excuse, I'm so sorry. While I'm deployed. Yes, while I'm over here getting shot at, you're fucking around with other military spouses. I didn't fuck anyone, it was one kiss you know about, he said. That's just what got back to me, who knows what else you've done that nobody's told me about yet. Nothing, I swear, nothing else happened. But you wanted it to. That's why you've been posting half-naked pictures and going to clubs and meeting guys for drinks. You wanted something to happen. I couldn't argue with that because it was true. Maybe I hadn't planned to cheat, but I'd created every condition for it to happen. I'd built the entire infrastructure. I want a divorce, Marcus said. My stomach lurched even though I'd seen it coming. Can we talk about this when you get home, please? You're coming back in 3 months and we can go to counseling and I don't want to wait 3 months. I want you served with papers now. I want this done. Marcus, please, I know I fucked up. I know I don't deserve it, but please just let me try to fix this. Fix it? Jenna, you've spent my entire deployment humiliating me. Do you know what it's like to have my buddies showing me pictures of my wife looking like she's advertising for dick on Instagram? Do you know what it's like to get a call from my buddy's wife saying she saw you making out with someone in a parking lot? We weren't making out, it was. I don't care what the technical definition is. You kissed another man, you posted 100 pictures showing the world you don't give a fuck that I'm deployed. You've made me look like the biggest idiot on this base. He was yelling now, something Marcus almost never did. I could hear people in the background telling him to calm down. I have to go, he said. My lawyer will contact you. Marcus, wait, he hung up. I called back 16 times, he didn't answer. The divorce papers arrived at my apartment 2 weeks later, delivered by a process server while I was in my pajamas on a Tuesday afternoon. I stood in my doorway holding the envelope numb. I posted a photo that night, me with wet hair and no makeup, looking directly at the camera with tears in my eyes. The caption was, sometimes you don't realize how much you had until you've destroyed it. Sometimes you're the villain in your own story. The comments were vicious. People I didn't even know calling me a military wife disgrace, a cheater, trash. Someone found Marcus's social media and commented telling him he deserved better. Dozens of people agreed. I deleted the post after an hour, then I deleted my entire Instagram account. But it was too late. Screenshots live forever. Someone had archived every single one of my posts from the deployment, every bikini picture, every club photo, every passive-aggressive caption. They created a folder, shared it around base, made sure everyone could see exactly what I'd been doing while Marcus was deployed. My mom called, crying. How could you do this? That boy loved you. He was serving his country and you were. I know, Mom. Do you? Because you don't seem to understand what you've done. You've ruined your marriage. You've embarrassed your family. For what? Attention from strangers on the internet? I didn't have an answer because she was right. I lost my job 3 weeks later. Officially they said it was due to restructuring, but I knew better. My boss's husband was in Marcus's unit. Word had gotten around. I'd become a liability, someone who brought drama and bad optics. I moved back to my hometown, 2 states away, staying with my parents while the divorce proceedings continued. Marcus pushed for an expedited timeline since we had no kids and minimal shared assets. He wanted me out of his life as quickly as possible. The final divorce decree came through 7 months after he deployed, 2 weeks before he was scheduled to come home. We never saw each other again after that morning I drove him to base. Our marriage ended entirely via lawyers and paperwork. I saw on social media, accounts belonging to mutual friends I hadn't blocked yet, that Marcus came home to hero's welcome. His family threw him a party. He looked happy in the photos, thinner but smiling, surrounded by people who loved him. I wasn't in a single picture, erased from his homecoming like I'd never existed. Someone told me he started dating a woman from his unit about a month after he got back. They got engaged 6 months later. I looked at her Instagram once against my better judgment. She was pretty, fit, seemed smart and accomplished. She posted about him constantly but tastefully, no thirst traps, no passive-aggressive captions, just genuine affection and pride. Everything I should have been and wasn't. The photos of her at their engagement party, surrounded by his family and friends, people who used to be my family and friends, broke something in me. I cried for 3 hours, mourning not just Marcus but the person I used to be before I decided validation from strangers was worth more than my marriage. Tyler sent me a message 6 months after everything imploded. He and his wife had worked things out, gone to counseling, rebuilt their marriage. "I'm sorry for my part in what happened," he wrote. "I was in a dark place and I pulled you into it. I hope you're doing okay." I didn't respond. I deleted his message thread for a reason, and I wasn't about to resurrect that particular mistake. I started therapy finally, told my therapist everything, the loneliness, the attention-seeking, the kiss, the social media spiral. She helped me understand that I'd been looking for external validation to fill an internal void, that I'd sabotaged my marriage because some part of me believed I didn't deserve it, that the girl who'd spent her whole life feeling like a backup option never really believed Marcus when he made her first string. "You were testing him," she said during one session, "pushing boundaries to see if he'd care enough to stop you. He did care, that's why he divorced me. He cared about his reputation. You wanted him to care about you. So it's his fault I cheated? No, you're responsible for your choices, but you were both failing each other long before you kissed Tyler. You just handled that failure in the worst possible way." I got it intellectually, but understanding why I'd done something didn't make it hurt less or make me less guilty. I haven't dated since the divorce. Part of me thinks I don't deserve to, that this is my penance. Another part of me, the part my therapist is trying to strengthen, knows that's just another form of self-sabotage, punishing myself because it's easier than actually healing. I still check Marcus's social media sometimes, even though I know I shouldn't. He got married last month. The wedding looked beautiful. His new wife wore a dress I would have chosen. He looked at her the way he used to look at me in the beginning, before things got complicated and distant and broken. I commented once, on a photo he posted from his honeymoon, just "congratulations." He deleted it within an hour and blocked me. I deserved that. What nobody tells you about being the villain in your own story is how much space it takes up in your head. I've replayed those 9 months 1,000 times, imagining different choices. What if I just talked to Marcus about feeling neglected instead of posting bikini pictures? What if I'd shut down Tyler the first time he got flirty? What if I'd been honest about struggling instead of pretending everything was fine while building my exit strategy? But I didn't do any of those things. I chose attention over honesty. I chose validation over vulnerability. I chose to blow up my marriage rather than fight for it. My mom asked me recently if I regret it. Of course I regret it, I said. I regret everything. Do you regret marrying him in the first place? That question stopped me cold because I didn't have an easy answer. If I'd never married Marcus, I'd never have felt that initial high of being chosen. But I also wouldn't have had to deal with the crash of becoming invisible again. I wouldn't have posted those pictures or kissed Tyler or destroyed something that could have been good if I'd handled it differently. I regret who I became, I finally said. I regret that I didn't know how to ask for what I needed without burning everything down. I'm telling you all of this now because I saw TikTok yesterday. Some military wife talking about how her deployed husband hasn't called in 2 weeks and she's struggling. The comments were full of women sharing their experiences, talking about the loneliness, admitting how hard it is. And then I saw my own story referenced in a comment. "At least you're not posting thirst traps like that one girl whose husband came home and served her divorce papers lol." 43 people liked that comment. I'm an object lesson now. A cautionary tale. The girl who posted bikini pictures while her husband was deployed and got exactly what she deserved. The thing is, they're not wrong. I did post those pictures. I did kiss Tyler. I did humiliate Marcus and destroy my marriage and earn every bit of judgment that came my way. But I also spent 9 months feeling invisible to my own husband before I made those choices. I also tried to tell him I was struggling and got brushed off. I also needed something he wasn't giving me, and instead of insisting he hear me, I found the most destructive possible way to get his attention. We were both failing at the marriage. The difference is, he was failing passively and I was failing actively publicly, in a way that could be screenshotted and shared and turned into a story about terrible military wives. I don't know what the moral of this story is. Don't post thirst traps while your husband is deployed, obviously. Don't kiss other men while you're married, definitely. Don't look for external validation to fix internal problems, for sure. But also maybe speak up before you blow up. Ask for what you need before you decide to burn everything down. Be honest about your marriage failing instead of pretending you're flourishing while it dies. I can't undo any of it. I can't unpost those pictures or unniss Tyler or unfile those divorce papers. I can't make Marcus see me as anything other than the woman who betrayed him during the hardest 9 months of his life. I can't make his family or friends or anyone on that base remember me as anything other than trash. All I can do is sit here, 2 years later, still trying to figure out how I became someone I don't recognize. Still trying to understand how feeling invisible led me to make myself visible in the worst possible way. Marcus moved on. He's happy. He found someone better, someone who doesn't need Instagram likes to feel whole. I'm still here, living with my choices, being used as a warning to other military wives about what not to do. And the worst part? I still don't know if I was crying for Marcus when I watched him walk away that morning at the base, or if I was crying for myself, already grieving the person I was about to become.